The countdown has begun. A storm is coming, and it's one you won't want to miss. Season 5 of The Chosen is finally here, and it's set to deliver a ride like no other. The stakes are higher, the drama is more intense, and the journey toward the crucifixion has never felt so close. The release date is locked, the trailer's out, and what's inside will have you on the edge of your seat. The story of Jesus' final days is about to unfold, and this season will change everything you thought you knew about his ministry. The premiere episode of The Chosen Season 5 opens with an undeniable sense of urgency. Jesus and his disciples are on the move, and the tensions in Jerusalem are escalating. The once celebrated teacher is now a direct threat to the religious leaders, whose influence is starting to crumble. The atmosphere is electric, charged with the knowledge that every word Jesus speaks, every step he takes, is pushing him closer to his destiny. The Pharisees, who once dismissed him, are now hunting him down with relentless determination. And for the first time, the disciples are beginning to feel the weight of what's coming. They've followed Jesus through miracles, through moments of glory, but what lies ahead is darker, more uncertain. Season 5 doesn't shy away from the growing tension. As the disciples watch, the stakes grow higher with each passing moment. But it's not just about what Jesus will do next. It's also about the inner turmoil that's starting to surface within those closest to him. Judas Iscariot's journey takes center stage this season, and episode 1 begins to lay the groundwork for his eventual betrayal. But this isn't the Judas you think you know. Actor Luke Dimian, who plays him, promises a portrayal that dives deep into the character's inner conflict, ambition, doubt, and moral struggle. His betrayal won't come without a cost, and as you watch him wrestle with his choices, you'll start to question, what pushed him to this point? What's at stake for him? This season is not just about the external conflict between Jesus and the authorities, but also the emotional chaos within the hearts of those who love him the most. The question on everyone's mind is, how much longer can this peace last? The scene of Jesus cleansing the temple promises to be one of the most intense moments in the first episode. But there's so much more to come. If you think you know where this story is going, think again. This season will challenge everything you thought you knew about the final days of Jesus' life on earth. Buckle up, because The Chosen Season 5 is about to take you on a ride you'll never forget. As the first episode of The Chosen Season 5 unfolds, we are taken on a ride through the rapidly escalating tensions of Jerusalem. Jesus' ministry, once focused on healing, teaching, and inspiring, has become a direct challenge to the established power structures of the time. The religious leaders, whose authority over the people is now threatened by Jesus' growing influence, have decided that enough is enough. In the heart of Jerusalem, where power and control have been wielded for centuries, the battle lines are being drawn. What started as whispers in the crowds is now a full-blown confrontation. Jesus has become a target, and the Pharisees and other religious authorities will stop at nothing to discredit him, humiliate him, and, if possible, destroy him. But Jesus knows the cost of his actions. He knows the danger that's growing around him and the price that will eventually come. He knows that the path to redemption will lead to the cross. Yet, despite the weight of it all, there is an unwavering resolve in his eyes. He continues to preach, teach, and heal with a sense of urgency. His disciples, for the most part, continue to follow with trust and loyalty. But as the shadows grow longer, doubts start creeping in. Every step closer to Jerusalem brings more tension, more fear, and more uncertainty about what's to come. The pressure is beginning to take its toll. Will they be able to withstand the storm that's on the horizon, or will their faith break when everything falls apart? One of the most compelling aspects of this season is the personal journey of the disciples. These followers of Jesus, who have witnessed his miracles and heard his teachings firsthand, are not immune to the forces at play. They are human, after all, with their own fears, doubts, and vulnerabilities. Each disciple has his or her own internal battle. For some, it's the growing realization that their lives, their future, may be forever altered. For others, it's the fear of the consequences of staying loyal to Jesus when the entire religious system is lining up against him. The conflicts are not just external, they are deeply personal and emotional. And nowhere is this more evident than in the character of Judas Iscariot. Judas is not just a shadowy figure who will betray Jesus in the end. Season 5 promises to give us a deeper understanding of his motivations, his internal struggles, and the forces that push him to make the choices he does. Actor Luke Dimian, who portrays Judas, has spoken openly about the complexity of the character this season. Judas isn't simply the villain you think you know. He is a man torn between ambition, doubt, and an overwhelming desire for control. His internal conflict is palpable, and his journey is one of the most compelling elements of the season. We see a Judas who is not a one-dimensional antagonist, but a man wrestling with himself. Is he simply driven by greed, or is there something more? Is his betrayal inevitable, or is it a result of circumstances, internal struggle, and the weight of a world that is spinning out of control? The audience will be forced to look at Judas not as a man who simply falls to temptation, but as someone caught in the grip of his own human limitations. His ambition, his fear of losing control, his deep sense of frustration with the direction things are going, all of these elements combine to create a man on the edge. As we watch Judas in these early episodes, we're not just seeing a betrayer. We're seeing a man who believes in his own way, who thinks he knows better, who thinks that perhaps if he can force Jesus into a corner, the revolution will take a turn in his favor. But will it? Or will his choices seal his fate? This season delves deep into these psychological and emotional nuances. Judas is not simply a person who betrays Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. His story is one of a man who is struggling, questioning, and ultimately spiraling into a decision that will haunt him forever. The pain of betrayal is not just something Judas does to Jesus, it is something he does to himself. As the tension in the city builds, so too does the inner conflict in Judas. Will he ever be able to reconcile his actions, or will he be consumed by them? This is a Judas we haven't seen before, one whose journey is as tragic as it is inevitable. But Judas is not the only character grappling with inner turmoil. Each of the disciples finds themselves at a crossroads. Some, like Peter, are filled with fierce loyalty to Jesus, but even they are struggling with the weight of what's ahead. The looming possibility of Jesus being captured, condemned, and crucified fills the disciples with fear. For Peter, it's not just about believing in Jesus anymore. It's about knowing that following Jesus might mean losing everything. The moment when Jesus tells his disciples that they must carry their own crosses is a turning point, not just in the narrative, but in the personal lives of each character. The theme of sacrifice becomes central to the disciples' journey. They are now at the precipice, looking into the abyss of what it means to follow a man who is about to face the ultimate price. There's a growing sense of urgency throughout the season. The threat of violence is ever present, and Jesus' every move seems to draw more heat. The cleansing of the temple is an unforgettable moment that shakes the religious establishment to its core. Jesus' righteous anger, as he overturns the tables of the money changers, declares loudly that the temple is a house of prayer, not a den of thieves. This moment is symbolic in more ways than one. It is a physical representation of the spiritual battle that is raging beneath the surface of everything that is happening in Jerusalem. Jesus is not just challenging the status quo, he is shaking the foundations of a corrupt system. But with every act of defiance, the danger grows. The authorities are no longer willing to tolerate this revolutionary spirit. Their response is swift and decisive: arrest, trial, and ultimately, death. As we move further into the season, it becomes increasingly clear that the lines between friend and foe are blurring. Judas is not alone in his struggle. The disciples are all in this together, yet the path ahead is anything but clear. With the looming specter of the crucifixion hanging over them, each one must decide how far they are willing to go for their faith. As the story progresses, the question that will haunt both the characters and the audience is, will they all make it to the end? Will they stay true to the man who has shown them love, compassion, and truth? Or will they falter when the weight of the world presses down on them? As we prepare for the release of The Chosen Season 5, one thing is clear. This season is going to change everything. With the stakes higher than ever, the emotional journey of Jesus and his disciples takes center stage. The suspense is palpable, the tension is real, and the questions of faith, loyalty, and sacrifice will keep you on the edge of your seat. The stage is set for the final chapter of Jesus' earthly ministry, and as we follow each of these characters through their darkest hours, we're reminded that every choice they make will have lasting consequences. From Judas's internal struggle to Peter's unwavering loyalty, every moment matters, and the line between friend and foe is thinner than ever. As the drama unfolds, prepare for a season that will not only challenge your understanding of the story of Jesus, but also test your own faith and convictions. The question is no longer just about what happens to Jesus. It's about what happens to those who follow him. Can they endure the path of sacrifice and stay true to their calling? And what about us? As viewers, what can we learn from their journey? So, get ready. The release date is just around the corner, and The Chosen Season 5 promises to be an unforgettable ride. Don't miss out on the emotional roller coaster that awaits, because what happens next will resonate long after the credits roll. Are you ready for the final stretch of this epic journey? We sure are.